Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be that kid that gets sick in front of the whole year. Hey Jessicats, so today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 tips for beating exam anxiety. I actually wanted to take this time to also talk to you guys about my own personal struggles with anxiety and also how I've overcome them. So I've got some really effective tips that I've used throughout my life and they've really gotten me through a lot of challenging times. So if you find them really helpful, then give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you liked it. And if you're not already subscribed, then click that little subscribe button and join in on the Jessicat family, because I'm just here to help you out with all of your study needs, and I want to make studying a whole lot easier and more fun for you guys. So hope you enjoy my tips and that you find today's episode helpful. I remember when I was sitting my English exam in my final year of school, I was seated front row in the center of this massive hallway. There are 120 students in the room, and all I could remember during reading time was the clock ticking right in front of me and a garbage bin at the front. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be that kid that gets sick in front of the whole year. Now, I wasn't sick in front of the whole year, I kind of just had to pull it together, and I ended up doing really well in that exam. But I did find that that was the push that I needed to go and get some help and learn some different strategies about how to manage my anxiety and my stress when I was studying. I guess that's also why I started up this channel in the first place, is because I wanted to take the stress out of studying for you guys, and I want to be able to share with you my own personal experiences and make you guys feel like you're not alone if you're going through these kinds of challenges. So I hope you find these tips helpful, and without further ado, I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips. They've worked for me and I love them, so if you like them too, comment below and tell me which one's your favorite. Okay, so tip number one is one that I mentioned in last week's episode, and this is a very important tip and it's really effective, which is to engage in deep breathing. But the kind of breathing actually impacts how effective it's going to be. So it's most effective when you lengthen your exhalations to be longer than your inhalations, meaning inhaling to the count of 4 and then exhaling to the count of 6 is more effective for switching on your parasympathetic nervous system and switching off your sympathetic nervous system, which is the one that turns on your fight or flight response. The next tip is to create some positive palm cards. So I learned this when I started at university. I got this idea from a friend of mine and I really recommend it. I think I've mentioned it once before on my channel as well, but the whole idea is to write down some different positive statements or affirmations, starting with the word I, so that you can then read over them whenever you start to feel stressed. So I like the idea of just keeping them in your pocket even, and then if you're going into an exam and you start to feel a bit stressed, you can just pull them out and read through them. So a couple of different examples of what I would usually write on my positive palm cards would be, I have survived exams before, or I know I have studied to the best of my ability, or I am going to ace this test. Tip number 3 is to avoid alarmists. So I really don't recommend studying right before an exam. So it's okay to look over your notes in the morning, but if you get to an exam venue and you're planning on revising your notes right there, you're likely to stumble upon all of your other peers that are going to be really stressing out at the last minute. And stress is infectious, so I actually preferred to go to the library and read through my notes quietly, or just go for a bit of a walk before an exam just to clear my head and get me into a more calm mindset. The next tip is to pick a calming scent. So my calming scent is this. It's lavender perfume, and I got this when I was overseas. I absolutely love it. So I think lavender has a really calming effect on the mind, and I really like the idea of being able to just spray it on your clothes or even on your pillow at night if you find that you're getting a little bit stressed before an exam. So pick a scent that you feel most relaxed, and I would definitely carry that around, and you associate that scent with feeling more calm. The next tip is to familiarize yourself with the location of the exam. So if you're familiar with the location of the exam, then taking the exam is going to feel a little bit less daunting. So if I had an exam that was on campus, I would like to walk around that area. Sometimes I'd even study in that particular area as well. I just found that when I familiarize myself with the location of the exam, then it's just one less thing to worry about. So you know that you're going to get there on time, you know exactly where you have to be, and I think the last thing you want to be doing is sitting an exam in unfamiliar territory, and it can just make you feel a little bit more overwhelmed. The next tip is one of my favorites. It's to get a study buddy. So whilst you may be able to take me wherever you go because you can always have your phone and access my videos on YouTube, it's also nice to have a friend in person with you just to encourage you and make you feel okay. So whenever I would sit an exam at university, I used to go to the venue with some of my friends, but I was very selective on who my study buddies were. So there are a couple of friends of mine who we worked really well together, but I also knew that they weren't going to stress out. So if I started to feel a little bit nervous, they would kind of just bring me back to reality and reassure me that everything's going to be okay. Tip number 7 is to eat something light. So if you have an exam, then it's really important that you have fueled your body and that you're eating the right kinds of food so that you can stay focused and concentrate for long periods of time. But on the other hand, you don't want to be too full that you're going to feel really sluggish. So I recommend having either a light breakfast or having a healthy lunch that's high in omega-3s and, unprocessed, unrefined carbohydrates that's going to keep you going. So foods that are low in GI, high in the good kinds of fats and proteins, that's the sort of stuff that you want to be eating. If you've got an exam in the morning and you're feeling really stressed though, then even if you can just take a muesli bar in your pocket so that when you start to feel a little bit more calm and you feel like you can stomach food, then you can always have something to eat and you're not going to have to be halfway through an exam, your stomach's going to be gurgling and grumbling and you're going to be starving. Tip number 8 is something that I personally struggled with for a little while until someone brought it to my attention, which is not to focus on the grades that you think you need. So I remember when I was studying for my 3rd year in psychology, I really wanted to get into a postgraduate diploma of psychology and I really wanted a scholarship. So I kept on focusing on the exact number that I needed to get on an exam, and it just made me feel a whole lot more stressed and it took the enjoyment out of studying. So instead of thinking I need to get that mark, if I don't get that mark then I may not get into this course or I may not be able to do that, think to yourself that this is your opportunity to show everyone how much you've learned and really appreciate the fact that you've been able to study an interesting subject. Tip number 9 is something that I find really helpful if you feel your anxiety starting to really get out of control, which is to use mindfulness. So if you're sitting at your chair and you start to feel like you're getting really stressed, then it can be really helpful to wriggle your fingers and toes or even feel yourself sitting on a chair, feel yourself, holding a pencil, and it's just going to bring you back down to reality and get you out of your head and into your body. Tip number 10, we're finally there guys, is to focus on one question at a time. So it can be really overwhelming to think that you have to complete a whole exam, a whole 120 questions sitting in front of you. But at the end of the day, how do you eat an elephant? It's still one bite at a time. And that's actually something that my grandmother taught me when I was getting really nervous and stressed when I was in high school. So at the end of the day, it's really important to remember that you can only answer one question at a time and you're going to do the best that you can possibly do, and not to think about what's going to be on the other side of the page, but just really focus on what you're doing at that point in time. Comment below telling me which tips you found the most helpful for yourself, and if you have any other tips to help you when it comes to managing stress and anxiety, especially around exam time and taking a test, then leave your comments for different tips below and we can all share them around and we'll all be able to benefit. And if you did like my tips, then give this video a thumbs up to let me know and show me some love guys. And I will see you guys next Wednesday with another Study Tips episode. Have a happy and productive week, Jessie Cats. Bye!